All right, here we are. Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Sustainable Brain. I'm Christy Villanueva, president of the West San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. And today we are talking about community service and contributions. And we continue to move forward with our COVID conversations on resilience and our sustainable brain. So again, with me today is Dr. Sunita Punjabi from the Brain Coach. Hi, Dr. Sunita.
Hi, Christy. It's so great to be together again.
Likewise, I always look forward to this. So I'm so excited that we have a new guest with a very different perspective on things. I think every show has just evolved into something better each and every time we bring either a leader from the community or a business owner, and it helps us all understand where we're going.
Yeah, it sure does. I'm really excited about having Gianna Recio on today. And just to give you guys a background, I'm not kidding. Christy and I and Miss Recio were talking. She brings so much to the table. I don't know what to ask first, but let me introduce her. She is a registered nurse, and she is the founder of the Nursing Council for Texas Schools. She's also co-owner of Mi Amor, that's an HCS program, and powerful, she is the head of a huge nursing staff with one of the largest charter school organizations. So she brings so much to the table. And I wanted to start, Ms. Recio, with, in all the things that you do, you founded this council, you supervise nurses that are dealing with the things that are going on in the schools right now. What do you do when you have to deal with tough emotions? How do you keep your balance? How do you deal with all of this sadness and tragedy and just information we're dealing with right now?
First of all, Dr. Sunita, Christy, I'm very grateful and honored and privileged that you chose me to be here with you all today. What a powerful service both of you are doing for the community. So thank you. So what I do to how I respond to tough emotions, I give myself, first of all, permission, and I make a rule. I have this rule where I just don't allow my pouty days. Okay, I don't allow the pouty days to equal more than my good days ever. So if I ever feel like some emotions are out of control, I ask always, okay, what is it that you're trying to teach me? And I don't tell the emotion, oh, this is a bad emotion. So number one, I don't label it as a bad emotion. However, I do label it, it's either a constricting emotion or it's an expansion. It's an expanding emotion. And what I mean by that is, so you could take constricting emotion and say that it's labeled bad. But for me, when I feel constrained, when I feel like I can't breathe, when I feel like something's choking me, I'll ask, what is it that you're trying to teach me? And sometimes that constricting emotion will feel like anger or depression, frustration. And so I'll just invite it to resonate and visit and make it very known to that constriction that you have less than 24 hours to show me what it is you want to teach me, what it is you want to show me so I can learn from it. But then tomorrow you're moving on. And so once that relationship is established with that constricting emotion, it becomes almost like bending with the wind. It's no longer resistant because I haven't labeled it to be bad. I have allowed it to be. And so when you allow that constriction, slowly but surely, it is going to expand and release itself. And eventually it does. And so what I have come to also realize is that if I don't do this, if I continue to harbor constricting emotions in my body, it's going to make root It's going to make root in my vital organs. And being a nurse, I know firsthand how emotions can play into the vitality of your well-being.
Mhm.
And so I know that if I don't control this, it is going to make a home in my heart. It is going to make a home in my liver, in my kidneys, in my lungs. It has physiologically negative adverse effects. So being with it, allowing it, and recognizing that, okay, I give myself permission for one day. I give myself permission to, you know what? I'm going to lay on the couch and I'm going to enjoy this visitation with depression. I'm going to enjoy the visitation of being angry and frustrated. I'm just going to be with it. And throughout the day, I'll be processing it and I'll be like, okay, so let's dig a little deeper. Sometimes I'll write it in a journal. What really is causing this depression? What really is causing this anger? So before you know it, it usually doesn't take 24 hours because this has become so automatic now for me. The more I practice it, that it lingers probably 4 to 6 hours and then it just visits. It goes away.
So Gianna, that makes it sound like you're very efficient with your feelings, but just for the general audience that's listening and those business owners and managers that are taking on everything. They're taking on their own problems and the work problems and that of their staff. They may be taking that home too. So you're describing that you're leaning into whatever that constriction is. You're leaning into it and then essentially working through it through a matter of hours. But for some of us, it may take maybe a little longer, days.
And that would be perfectly fine. As long as you create your own rule that works for you and never allow your pouty days to be more than your happy days. That is a conscious decision that we all should be making and recognizing when these constricting emotions are visiting you. If your pouty days are equally more than your good days, you really should take a time out and self-reflect. Otherwise, you're going to keep harboring these emotions. And then they like to invite their friends. So depression likes to invite anger and frustration and hate and jealousy, all alike. They're like, come on, guys, we found someone to host us. Let's go party. So what I would tell people who really don't have this established yet, the most important thing that you can do is build your inner foundation. Build your inner foundation by ways of just saying, I believe in myself. I love myself. And develop a ritual for yourself to just start with 10 minutes every single day committed to yourself. You know, if it's 10 minutes, it will turn into 11 minutes. It will turn into 20 minutes.
Mhm.
For me, I started off 5 minutes because it was very difficult with everything I had to do to make time for myself. But 5 minutes now has turned into 2 hours.
I really want to
Fantastic.
put in perspective who we're listening to is Gianna, how many nurses do you supervise? And then can you please tell me just the number of kids that are directly affected by the decisions that you make?
There are a total of about 31 uh, throughout the various regions of Texas. We have Central Texas, South
31
Central,
nurses, administrative healthcare people. And then how many kids do your decisions impact?
65,000.
Okay, I really want to put it now. She is this Miss Recio has practiced a lot of meditation. She has been doing this for years. So those of you that are listening and thinking, "Wow, how do you do that?" Because you know she is talking about some things that may not come naturally, but what we have talked about, and she is talking about, first of all, is going to neutral. She doesn't judge the emotions that come in. And during this time, lots of emotions are going to come in. We've talked about sadness, we've talked about anger, sheer fear that's coming in. So what she's saying, and all of us can do that, is we can stand outside of it and we cannot judge it. So what she's doing is she's going to neutral with the emotional charge. And there's this saying, whatever you focus on grows. So if we focus on our negative emotions and how wrong it is for us to have a negative emotion, it's going to actually grow. So that's one of the things I hear she's doing, that we can do right away, is go to neutral. The other thing I think she's aware of, because of her training, this is founded in kinesiology, but that those negative emotions, when you judge, you add more, and it's stored inside your body. But the last thing I heard her say is she gets clear on her commitment. And so after she gets to neutral and doesn't beat herself up for having a negative emotion, she then redirects from, okay, what is my commitment in this situation? And those are things we've talked about, and I know that we can do.
Yeah.
And Dr. Sunita, what I would like to add is also, it's also being grateful at the end of when the patient of those constricting emotions like to visit me. I actually thank them. I actually thank them because they've made me pause, or however long I needed to pause to recognize what it was trying to teach and show me. And then I'm grateful for it. Believe it or not, I'm grateful for anger. I'm grateful for depression. I'm grateful for frustration. It helps me realize that I am still human, right? And it taught me something. And it makes me grateful because I can always trust that higher self to always intercede. And the next day we're like, man, that was a pretty intense visitation there, but we sure did get through it, and look at us now. And we just set ourselves up for the next one each and every time.
That's amazing. And I've written down the steps, but that last one, which is the frequency of gratitude, gratitude vibrates at one of the most powerful frequencies of all emotions. So really great. And I think, Chrissy, I agree with you. I want to make sure that people, and please send in your questions. It's so important that we be able to make this relatable to everybody, and that everybody walks out with something that they could use. And so one of the things, Gianna, Ms. Recio, I really wanted to talk about is, tell us a little bit more about what is happening, or what is it that how do you define success? Sorry, before I move on to that question, let me ask you, how do you define success then?
I would define success as, okay, so we tend to think that there's a lot of adversity and calamity in the world right now. So to keep it in simple terms, success right now would be if throughout all of the stuff going on out there, if you could remain a compassionate, loving person throughout all of this and be of service to people through this all, that is success in itself.
Excellent.
Yeah, and that says a lot, I think, about the type of leader that you are, and you're able to handle so much, and with your essential, you're so grounded, and with that base that you have, that contributes to your leadership, and you're able to share that with the people that you're leading each and every day, and that's going to transcend throughout as it moves out. Okay.
Christy, do you have any other questions I wanted to ask more about what Gianna is doing in the community, so we can understand a little bit about, but did you have any more questions for her as far as what she does to be resilient?
I think my last question related to this is really about, expanding on your leadership style. When you are speaking with the group of nurses, when you are trying to get a message across, especially in such a tumultuous time like it is right now, and you're really trying to help them understand how they can care for themselves, and also care for others, reassure parents of all these many children that are going to may come to school, or we may not see that until later, but how do you translate that message as a woman and a leader in our community?
Well, it's very important to be what you preach. And so if I'm going to give a educational spill on nutrition to keep healthy during these times, I myself have to be that, right?
Mhm.
And so I always try to find the greatness in people, and then I play on that, and I keep tugging at that, and I keep picking that out of them and challenging them. And then when I find that they are not so much weak, but I find that they're not so strong in an area, then I will just transfer it out to someone else who's more strengthful. So it's a constant daily huddle with my team on encouraging them. Keep encouraging, keep being a positive leader, and in the way you speak to them, building people up, and keep pushing them to their maximum potential, and not so much play on the shortcomings that each and every one of us have.
Absolutely. That's wonderful.
So Gianna, do I hear you saying, Ms. Recio, that you build on the strengths of a person? So you, and do you delegate duties that way? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
And with
So, yes.
I have a lot of delegation in my practice, and so thankfully it all gets taken care of because I figured out who has the greatest strengths in what area, and I delegate accordingly.
What
And
does it take, Ms. Recio, what does it take to, because I think you have to seed out the strength of a person. It's not always obvious. What does it take from you as a leader to hear, because you have to listen for that strength, don't you?
it takes great patience.
Okay.
Certainly a lot of patience, and it takes a lot of compassion. A
Yeah,
lot of compassion and patience, because you have to feel it out, you have to hear it out, and then you have to assess it after you've delegated to see if it meets requirements, and if not, it takes a lot of teaching. So it's a continuous thing, but at the same time, it's a beautiful thing, because when you put a person in their zone and you start to see them blossom right before your eyes, the courage that they then have within themselves, it's a wonderful thing. And I do it for selfish reasons, because I feel like when I'm doing that for someone and they blossom in front of me, it just makes me blossom a little bit more.
yeah. And you
Absolutely.
know what it really sounds like, Christy, is she's listening for, like her ears are all open, listening for the strength of the individual, opposed to listening for what's wrong with them.
Absolutely.
Right. Or making assumptions, because history, I know we talk about, our learned behaviors. Sometimes we have to fight making assumptions that a person is automatically going to be this or that type of personality, and
And
really just waiting for it all to come out.
lastly, as a another thing that I like to incorporate is we're really big on customer service, and that's good because our parents deserve that, our students deserve that, but more ever now, my staff need so much more love, and they need to be heard. And my customer service has now turned towards my staff, because if I love my staff and I built them up and we nurture them and I continue to nurture them, the customer service and the love for the students and the health and the duties that they carry out is just going to be an organic thing. Because when you love your employees so much, they take care of everything for you in customer relations. So a lot of times I used to think it was out there. Let's take care of the customers first and then the employees. Well, I kind of switched it up, and now I take care of the employees so much that they take care of the customers so naturally well.
I think that goes with the whole thing of charity starts at home. Um, so, making sure that your family, which is your staff and the people that you count on, are taken care of. And then knowing that when they're filled and feel cared for, they can put that outward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it goes, Christy, it really goes, we had a conversation about company culture. And I think it was that that restaurant where we interviewed the manager, and his
Mhm.
desire to make every customer feel special was also showed in the way he treated his staff. And so there was a company culture that was created. And Harvard Business Review tells us all the time, company culture eats strategy for breakfast every day. I mean, that's a
Yeah, no,
business motto.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want it's just like we're talking about. You're making your staff feel comfortable, feel powerful. You're allowing them to make decisions and make mistakes. And then you continue to empower and embrace them in a
Yeah.
positive way, which is what all business owners should be practicing every day.
And
But I think sometimes they get lost.
well, and I think, we've been told for so many years in business, whether it's for profit or nonprofit, procedures. You need to have procedures in place. You need to have step one, step two, step three. But the truth is, what happens when you're not looking as a business owner? That's culture. That is culture. And if you get culture in place, then strategy will follow.
Yes.
So I think in business for so long, it's been about policies and procedures. Do you have your P&P in place?
Oh, I do.
That's your, that's the problem that we were told in business, is we didn't have strong policy and procedures. Your staff is not following policy and procedures. And what we're saying right now is that that's a second. That's not the priority. It's company culture. And what is the culture that you're creating in your organization? And you could be 2 employees. It could be you and 1 employee. And there's a culture created.
Yes.
I know.
You nailed it right on the head. I am building up this team so that when I'm not here, they're still carrying on organically as they should, with the highest integrity, with the highest
Mhm.
delivery of professional nursing services.
And I know, Christy, you've done that too, with the chamber, with the girls that you work with over there. You've really
Right.
empowered them.
I've hired several young ladies that had not yet entered graduate school and one that did already graduate, but it's about building that leader and making sure that I allow them to make mistakes. I give them that support and allow them to work through the problems, and then they can figure it out. They have to get that strength from within. So for me, I'm just providing a platform to allow them to do that. And then I remind them, I'm not going to be here forever. I would want you to take my job. I want you to be the next president of a chamber if that's what you want. So I by all means, I'm not trying to shut anyone out. I would rather grow someone into a position where they're going to do their best.
Yeah.
Very
Both
lucky
of you.
to have you, Chrissy. They
Yeah.
are.
Oh, thank you.
It is about building platforms. And Gianna, I wanted to talk with the time that we have left, really about, you're building a platform on a huge, on a Texas level. Tell us about, you're the founder of the Nursing Council for Texas Schools. What is that about, and why is that important?
I had to do something. So what's happening right now is, as we all know, with the COVID pandemic, there's a lot that's being placed on the health services department, from
Yes.
DEA, from the CDC, from the local health departments, on safe protocols on returning. And Texas has this law that states that no school districts in Texas must have a nurse, a licensed LVN or RN on their campus. So because of that, many schools are hiring what we call paraprofessional, secretary, receptionist, and then the nurse is supposed to train them to provide highly skilled nursing services to students with high acuity medical needs. We're talking taking a normal person and having them deliver services such as trach care, tube feedings, medications, insulin administration, and epinephrine if there's an anaphylaxis reaction at school. So all of these skills require a critical thinking knowledge based, and that is only given to a licensed nurse, LVN or RN. Well, in a time of this crisis of the COVID pandemic, we must have a nurse on every single campus in Texas. There must be funding made available to the school districts to be able to hire nurses that will be able to implement, safeguard, and not only that, review the protocols daily to make sure that they are safe, effective. The whole purpose of this COVID is so that we can prevent, respond, and mitigate the virus from invading the schools, causing illness to teachers and to students, especially students and teachers with very underlying conditions, such as asthma, etc. But they won't give us the manpower to do so because of funding. And so this group that I started is to start making some movement, start making some noise, and hopefully getting a representative to sponsor a bill, because the legislation is coming up in 2021, January 2021, and we are going to mandate the Department of Education to open up an office within their organization so that they can provide funding to schools for additional nurses on every campus. Now more than ever, we cannot have lay people, normal, unskilled people that don't have critical thinking knowledge in their toolbox delivering these type of services to these kids. I don't think parents know that it's not a law in Texas for schools to have a nurse. I honestly think, and speaking to the number of parents that I've spoke to, they really think the person caring for their child is a licensed nurse.
Yeah, I know. I've always believed that for years. I have 2 children, one still in high school, and I always thought it was a nurse.
Hopefully at your child's school, they are. But in some schools, they'll have a nurse assigned to, like, say that there's 5 schools in one region, they'll get an RN to bounce around every campus. And then in the meantime, a secretary's taking over the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then so they don't know what to do necessarily when a child gets sick.
I mean, they're not going to know what, I mean, they're trained, right? We're just going in, but the level of training that is required is not sufficient for them to be able to intervene. It's good. You know, there's so many mandates by the CDC and whatnot, and it's going to take a nurse, a licensed nurse, to be able to assess an individual for the symptoms of COVID. Otherwise, we're going to be sending people left and right home.
Yes. That, and then we're making exceptions. Oh, well, you're just a little bit ill, just go ahead and stay in place. You don't have to go home.
Right.
We can't be making those decisions on our own.
A person unskilled should not be making those decisions. It jeopardizes the health and safety of everyone. As you said, what if a teacher is presenting with classic symptoms, but that untrained person doesn't know and sends them back to the workplace in potentially exposing them to all the students and the staff? Then that's what we're seeing happen in Georgia and Ohio when they're having to shut down because 200 plus people are testing positive.
Well, and this is because we're not even talking, this is the general population that we're talking about. We're not even hitting the next level of the children that are going to school with disabilities, with special needs and other, respiratory issues. I mean, that is yet another level of complication. So you have to have a licensed representative there.
It's a must. It's a must. And and that is a new passion that I have now, is every student at every school district in Texas deserves to have a licensed nurse on their campus, more now than ever. And come on, representatives out there, senators out there, get in touch with me. let's write this bill together, please, and let's take it to legislation and let's mandate these funds because it's the right thing to do. You want us to implement all these safeguards, give us the manpower to do it.
This is so relevant, Christy.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm already thinking, who can I share your contact information with so that bill can be started? Because I know when I've spoken to some of the leaders in our community, they're relying on the public to join in. So in regards to writing policy, it is our duty to pull together, to gather our groups, gather the experts, and then start submitting this type of information to them to say, this is where you need to start. This is your base. And now let's do the research together, see if there's other bills that exist that we can either piggyback off of or write and just an original bill, but we need to move it forward no matter what.
It did happen in Delaware. It did. And they came together and they made the Department of Education fund their districts. So yes, but it takes action, and and no one has taken this action yet in Texas. So I said, oh well, here I go again.
Another venture.
Okay, great.
The overall theme that we've been talking about from the beginning in this show is mental toughness is a byproduct of having a cause, of doing something outside yourself, something bigger than yourself. And I think Ms. Recio is doing that. Ms. Recio, how do we support your council? How do we support the Nursing Council of Texas Schools?
What you can do is please just invite members that you think wouldn't, anyone, parents. I've reached out to the PTO Association. I reached out to the senators, to the representatives, to the city council, Ron, Mr. Mayor, and Judge Nell, you name it. I've reached out to all of them and still have not heard one single response.
Well, I know we had Dr. Phil Cortez, state representative. So he's definitely, I have to find that number and I'm going to give him a call. I want to tell him about what we talked about today for sure.
I want to make some history for the right thing. Come on. It wouldn't hurt to try, to, and we would be saving so many possibly kids they just deserve.
Well, and this is so relevant. We really need, because I mean, just being involved, just today listening, I had no idea. I know, Christy, you didn't know about this either.
No, because you automatically assume that a school has all these positions filled. And let's say, when the school secretary calls me and says, well, your son has a fever or isn't feeling well, and I ask, well, where is he right now? Oh, well, he's with nurse so-and-so. So they call him a nurse, so you automatically trust what they're saying. And really, and I've learned over the years, sometimes people just throw around titles just to do that. They refer to, well, that's the nurse's office, so it's automatically the nurse.
Yes, and they do that. They even have clinic labeled right on the door.
Yes.
There is a law in Texas that says you cannot call anyone that hasn't earned that license or degree a nurse.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And now there is a law in Texas that says, okay, schools, you don't have to have a nurse on your campus, but if you do choose to have a nurse, they have to be a registered nurse.
Mm-hmm. Well, we definitely need to get the website for your organization and a phone number, and that way we can post it in the comments of this episode. So those that are interested can reach out to you and your group. And then we're going to need to see a copy of that legislation from Delaware. And that way we can start working on that.
I will shoot everything to you and get this right to both of you. And
I love that. Yeah, we've got to help kids. And I know I personally have made a decision to keep my child at home, with a compromised immune system myself. I can't take that chance. And every time I listen to the news, that's what I'm thinking. How do I know 100% that my school district has the right plan in place, has the right people. Because everything that we've seen up to this point in the media, kids naturally gravitate together. They cannot keep their hands off of each other. So 6 feet apart, I don't see it happening today. We need
Yeah.
more time and legislation.
Yes.
You know, the implications of what Ms. Recio is talking about does have to do with the parent with a compromised immune system, with grandparents that are in the house. When we, what the school districts decide and do or not do has huge implications to the United States on everything. It really is, because we all have kids or connected to kids or grandkids, and
Mhm.
wow. So
Yes.
yeah, we'll definitely, I think we're gonna give our state representatives a call.
We're going to give them a call.
Okay, sounds good.
So
Anything else? Yes.
thank you, Gianna, for being with us. Would you like to leave us with maybe a parting message, something that you'd like to tell the audience or empower them to take action on something, or just, words of wisdom?
What I would say is, guys, start small, start somewhere. As long as you start, develop a daily practice, a daily ritual to engage you in that connection with that higher self, whatever you want to call it, God, higher power, your source, energy. Make it a commitment, and make it a commitment, and make it also that your life depends on it. If you make that commitment and you say, my life depends on this, something's got to give, I got to change, I got to get connected with that rules, then your life is going to change. But it's gonna take a commitment. And I'm here for anyone who still is lost. Reach out to me and I'll be sure to help you with what I do to hopefully help you get on the right track.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time.
An honor. Thank you so much. Love you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Sunita,
Yes.
what brilliant message are you going to leave us with? Our brain is waiting.
I want people to know that what Gianna is doing, it's not does not have to be difficult. She talked about choosing an emotion that's constricting versus the emotion that's liberating or builds her. You can do that. And you can take a few minutes every day to just be in silent thought. A lot of people tell me, I can't meditate. There's too much going on. Take a breath. Take 3 deep breaths. And Christy, you and I have been working on breathing, just breathing. And what a difference.
Who knew that was so hard?
And what a difference it makes. So I want people to know, and to end with this, that you don't have to have this perfect, just starting, like Gianna said, with something calm. During these times, it's so important to just chill out and just be still. And I tell you what, I struggle with it every day. I am definitely, I'll be honest, I'm not as disciplined as Gianna is, as Miss Recio is. She has an entire ritual. So you don't have to do that to make a difference for your own life. It's just that one step, 3 breaths today. And you can even YouTube that.
Yes.
Breathing techniques. There's so many out there. So I just wanted to say that you don't have to be perfect to make progress.
That's right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sunita. And thank you to everyone out there listening. Remember that we are all here for you. You have a million resources out there, and you're actually looking at 3 of them that are willing to help you. We're just a phone call away or an email. Take the time to reevaluate, be mindful about what you're doing, do for yourself. And that may be by educating yourself, by taking these breaths, learning a little bit about that, or maybe getting involved in a group. We're all waiting for you. So we hope that you'll join us again for another episode of The Sustainable Brain every week at 12:15. Here, Dr. Sunita and I help to make your brain stronger. So we will see you next week. And for the rest of our audience, we hope to see you tonight for our West San Antonio Chamber Trivia Night. Thank you and make it a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, ladies. Thank you. And Gianna, hopefully we'll see you soon with maybe some legislation.
Hey, I know it'll happen.
Talk to you soon, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, man.